This is Patrick Findaro, co-founder at Vetted Biz. Very excited to have on two guests from Footprints Floors. Bryan Park, who's the founder and CEO of Footprints Floors, as well as Brian Knuth, who's not only a franchise owner, but he's also the director of development. Footprints Floors has grown from one location in 2008 to over 150 locations in a little over 12 years. They started franchising in 2013. So it's a very responsible way to grow a franchise system and not just starting the first year after you launch, but waited 5 years to really fine tune their model before bringing in other franchisees. I'm very excited to, again, bring on Bryan Park and Brian Knuth. Brian's, maybe you could just tell me a little bit how you got into this industry of flooring and a little bit about your background.
Well, of course. Thanks for having us on here, Patrick.
Sure.
So I'm Bryan Park, the more handsome and larger of the two. So I started the business in 2008. Prior to that, I was in the Air Force. I was young. I was in my early 20s, newly married, getting out of the Air Force, trying to figure out what to do in life. Was a history major in college, which means I don't have a job. And moved back to Denver, moved back home, trying to figure it out. My wife and I had gone out to dinner one night and came home, and we had 3 puppies, because that's what normal people do. They get 3 puppies. They had eaten our carpet. They just tore it up and shredded it. The pad was all over the house. And so we called and hired a flooring company to come in and put in hardwood floors. And I'm watching this guy install. I'm like, this looks kind of cool. How much money do you make doing this? He's like, I don't know. 100 grand. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. Like, could I still go to school at night? Because really, the vision was it was going to be temporary. I was going to install hardwood floors while I finished a different degree. I was going to be an engineer and change kind of course in life. And so I started installing floors for that company. I called them up and said, hey, you guys hiring? They're like, sure. And so I started working for those guys, installing, sanding floors, doing it. I was a floor technician. Supporting my young family. I worked with those guys for about.
So you just had the 3 puppies and a daughter at that time?
3 puppies. My daughter was born, my oldest was born right about then as well.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so I think my wife was probably pregnant when puppies ate the carpet, if I did the math right. And so I started working for those guys, and then 08 hits, so that's about 2.5, 3 years later. 08 hits. I worked for those guys for free for like 6 months. I was a W-2 employee, and they weren't paying.
There was no payroll protection back then. Well, you just didn't get anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there wasn't anything.
That's a new term as of 2020, right?
Oh, I got you. I hadn't even heard that term.
Yeah, it's a new coin term.
Okay. No, there was no payroll protection. They stopped paying their guys. I worked for free for like 6 months, trusting that they were going to pay me back. November of 08, they sat me down at an Arby's and let me know. They didn't even buy me a
classy place to have a
I know. Meeting. I got fired at an Arby's. I said, they owed me like 35 grand. They're like, good luck. And that was the landscape. So I'm $30,000 or $40,000 in credit card debt. 4 dogs. My wife is pregnant with our second daughter. She's 8 months pregnant. Wow. I have a 2-year-old, 800 square foot house, and I'm unemployed in the worst recession since the Great Depression.
Exactly.
And I'm starting a flooring company in the winter, and it's a seasonal business, so not ideal. And that's when I started Footprints Floors. So December 9th of 2008 was our starting date. We went the next couple months not doing any work. I was walking neighborhoods, putting flyers on doors, just trying to drum up any business, hanging out at Home Depot, hitting up customers in the flooring aisle, just anything I could to support my young family. And then in February of 09, we did our first project, and then it just started to roll from there. Kicked on marketing, and really by spring, summer of 09, we were off and rolling. I ended up doing almost $550,000 that first year. A lot of it with my own hands. I'd gotten some old gear and was doing all the floors myself for the first half of that first year. And once we got busy enough, I was doing a floor still myself, and then I would have other crews running parallel with me. And we got to a point where I was running 3, 4, 5 crews in that first year. And really, yeah.
What's like the profit margin, if you don't mind, like on 500K in sales, like what's kind of the industry profit margin for a flooring business?
Back then, my profit margin was close to 50% because I was
Wow.
doing a lot of the work myself. And my wife was the receptionist, and I'm not paying her. She's, uh, and so yeah, we made good money that year. We paid off that $40,000 in credit card debt. We were way upside down in our 800 square foot house because we bought it at the top of the market, and now the market's crashed. So we had the cash to get out of that house. So yeah, it was a great first year, and it really jump started Footprints Floors. And I learned that this could be a very profitable deal, but at that time, and really for the next few years, it was just growing a business in Denver with no intention of franchising. My intentions were to feed my family, really, and that was it. That was all I was planning on doing with it, and it evolved from there. And but rather than just keep on rolling, I'll let Brian participate in this podcast. So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so my story is probably more related to franchise development. In 2012, we founded an organization called Raintree, where we support franchise organizations like Footprints Floors and a variety of others in all things recruitment. So franchise development application to their business. We kind of look at it as Brian and founders and executive leaderships of different franchise organizations. They understand how to make unit level economics for their franchisees. We understand how to go find more franchisees. And so in 2012, we started that company, and fast forward 2018, we met Bryan Park and started discussing the opportunity of working together. And I immediately had an attraction to the business for a variety of reasons. And so I still maintain that role at Raintree, but I also own 3 territories throughout Indiana.
Incredible. And working at Raintree, I understand they've represented 20 plus franchise brands, right?
Yeah, probably a little bit more than that throughout the course of our operation. Right now, I think we represent about 14 in our portfolio.
And have you ever had as close of a working relationship as with Footprints Floors as with some of the other franchises in that portfolio?
I would say across all of our relationships, we have a very similar working relationship as far as our franchise development responsibilities. Sure. But me personally, being entrenched in the operation of Footprints Floors on a daily basis, I have a stronger understanding of this model, more so with relevant, I guess, tools and technologies and industry assistance and just everything that's happening that's impacting franchise owners. I'm in real time understanding of that as a recipient of all those services.
What really attracted you to open and operate 3 territories for Footprints Floors? What was it about their business model as well as the industry as a whole?
Yeah, so I've been closely related to the service industry, right? So take flooring out of it. I've been closely related to tree removal. I've been closely related to window screens. I've been closely related to, my brother's works at an interior design company. And so I've always been attracted to the needs-based business where there's an easily identified, and recognized need from the consumer.
Sure.
It's not a hard sale per se. But as I evaluated Footprints Floors, just the level of infrastructure that Brian's put into place to create this, operation where you can manage multiple jobs, multiple individuals, multiple, and a tremendous amount of output. So it was largely the infrastructure that he and his team have to support us franchise owners. And I hate to use the word compartmentalize, but he's really compartmentalized the business in some key categories that, this makes money over here. You need this player to make this money. And he's identified exactly what we need to do as owners. And it's quite simplified. So it's really the infrastructure to support us to go out and sell and manage. They take care of the rest.
Bryan Park, what does your team look like? Like how many people are working full time or even in a part-time capacity supporting franchisees?
We just did a head count the other day. We are at 54 employees,
Wow.
supporting 79 owners.
Okay. So you're
Yeah.
ready to scale up. That's a pretty nice ratio. I don't know if I've
Yeah.
ever heard that type of ratio in franchising.
Yeah, we have a lot of staff. Well, we run we answer all the phones for all the owners. So a franchisee doesn't have to hire admin staff for themselves. We take care of it for them. So any incoming phone calls from the general public looking for flooring filters through our corporate receptionist staff. We call them customer service representatives or CSRs. So they filter through the CSRs, and then they're put the actual estimates put on the owner's schedule for them. And that's really when the owner takes over. So they're not chasing leads. We turn all their marketing and manage all the marketing for them. We're talking to the different marketing reps. We've negotiated discounts on marketing costs.
Great.
There's a lot of things in place. And then we handle and control all of the incoming call flow. And then we put it on their schedule. And that's really when they take over, is at that point.
So it's essentially, and I've seen this with different service brands, especially like in the accounting space or insurance space. You're handling a lot of the sales, marketing, lead gen, lead nurturing, so that the franchisee can just focus on hiring, firing if necessary, building up the operations and serving the different jobs.
Yeah, and that's a direct byproduct of I did that job. I did it. I did estimates in people's houses for going on 15 years now. I've done tens of thousands of estimates over the years, and I decided early on, and really back in the first year when it was my wife and I couldn't be in an estimate and answer my phone. When I'm in a house, I need to be focusing on that customer. When I'm doing a walkthrough to end out a job, or if I'm physically doing the job myself, it's not
A huge
good.
turnoff from the customer. Like I was looking at real estate a year back, and the realtor is just picking up the phone nonstop. It's just like, dude, can you put down the phone and let's just focus on this task on hand?
And then you're half paying attention to both people. So the people you're currently with are put off because you keep answering your phone. And then you're not doing a good job answering the phone because you're feeling rushed. And so that
Sure.
potential customer, you only give them 2 seconds of your time. You're like, well, I'll call you back. Bye. And now they're just calling the next company. Whereas when you have a professional admin person answering your phones all day, sitting at a computer, who can spend 15 minutes on a phone and hear about the project and invest in them emotionally, it leads to good things. And that was day one. That's what we started doing. And we've just continued that trend for the last 13 years.
And to add a little context to that, so the role for the franchise owner is, as Brian just described, meeting with the customer in the property, providing them undivided attention and information about their project, selling them ultimately, but it's not a hard sale. And then from there, managing that project to ensure that it carries out and finishes on time. So, the staff and the infrastructure he's created allows for us to be uninterrupted in property, essentially just teeing us up at scheduled estimates according to our flexibility and our schedule. So to me, I looked at that as, in operating a business, I don't have to have a tremendous amount of people and all sorts of different balls in the air that are going in different directions that I can't figure out what's what. I look at and this is me as an investor, I look at my sales staff and I can see exactly what they're scheduled to do from an estimate standpoint. And I can look at my production staff and see exactly where they're at and the projects they're managing and know exactly when they're going to finish. So it's very clean and simple to manage.
How often are you checking those KPIs, key performance indicators?
I check them on a regular basis. So I guess regular to me would be I'm looking at my spreadsheet daily.
Nice.
But I'm more keeping it clean on a weekly basis when we do payroll.
Okay.
And payroll being our crews. So it's not a challenge at all. But one of I tell people that the hardest thing to wrap your head around in this business is the value proposition to crews. There's this, I believe, or at least I see this in the last 3 years with thousands of calls. There's this preconceived notion that crews are terrible, they're hard to find, they don't work, they're lazy, they don't know what they're doing. The list goes on. And I can debunk all of that just from my own personal experiences. But what's important is the value proposition to those crews. There are crews out there doing production right now. You have to get in front of them and you have to create an environment where they want to come back. And so paying them every Friday And I just
So
gave the
instead of
secret sauce the
bi-weekly pay,
business.
you do weekly pay, and that makes
That's
a big
right.
difference.
That's right. And that's our secret sauce, right? But
Pay
no,
them?
pay them and they show up on
Yeah.
Monday.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
If I pay them, they don't want to answer your phone. So
Pay them
it's
the
pretty
reasonable
simple.
rate, right? I mean,
That's exactly
you
it.
hear so many people complaining about not being able to get employees, but if you pay them
Right.
more frequently and pay them the market rate, they'll probably show up and show up with a smile, right?
Yeah. And to add to that, when I look at evaluating different businesses, paying these guys, we pay them a tremendous amount of money. We're not talking about trying to find general labor where today's market, you see a sign on a window at 7-Eleven for $17 an hour. I mean, year to date, I have a crew that I've paid $186,000.
It's great.
These guys drive nicer trucks than I do.
Yeah.
So there's some significant golden handcuffs in this business, which, it's a great win-win for everybody involved.
Yeah, I guess you kind of want that from like the franchisor to franchisee to employee. Like as a franchisor, you want your franchisees killing it, making tons of money, if not more than you. And then same thing with the employees down.
That's right.
And so tell me a little bit about the competitive landscape. I imagine you have some one-man shows that are booking, doing the service. I mean, the customer experience is not going to be there. Do you have big companies also in this space? Like who else are you guys competing with for jobs?
Go ahead.
That is a unique thing about the flooring industry, which has really led to a very ripe landscape for us to grow so quickly. The industry is mostly one-man shows. There's not. So and let me rephrase that. When I say industry, I'm more focused on the labor side. So we're a labor business. We don't really want to sell material.
Okay.
We have access, and we have
The margins aren't going to be as good though, right?
They're not. And our model, we don't have locations. We don't have brick and mortar locations. Our guys work from their houses and their cars. That's what they do. And so to get into the material business, the way to make money on material is to have a warehouse and buy pallet loads and truckloads and shipping containers and bring them in from overseas. And
you're going to need
do all
like
that.
$500K to $1 million to run that type of business.
The upfront investments, the liability, the employee staff, the infrastructure, shipping, then you're at the mercy of freight and gas and all of these things. It's a completely different business model. And so 13 years ago, I said, I don't want to be in that. I don't want anything to do with that. Why don't I just leverage the other flooring companies that's the business they want to be in, like a Floor and Decor or Home Depot or Lowe's. All these businesses, that's all they want to do is sell material.
They have economies of scale. It's tough to compete with them on the product side.
Compete. I'm never going to compete with Home Depot, right? So why try? Let's pair with them. Let's figure out what they're good at, and let's figure out what we're good at. And the beauty is all of these box stores, and all the way down to the mom and pops, that have been there since 1975 selling floors, they don't want to do labor. Sure. That's what they're not good at. They don't want to go to job sites. They don't want to figure out how to install this particular material the right way and read the rules and all the headaches that are on the labor side. So a company like us comes along and says, hey, we don't want to sell material. We want to do labor. And you want to sell material and you don't want to do labor. How about we do this together? And that's what we've done. So we've paired.
So you have a few like nationwide partnerships where your franchisees get in, they're pre-vetted, and then they can start servicing right away.
We staff their stores with our employees. Yep. And we sign up their customers, and it's a mutual win for us. So we're not, so to go back to your original question of what's the competition level, we're not trying to compete against Home Depot. We're pairing with them. So who we're really competing against is the other labor companies, and it's 99% one-man shows. I don't know of a single national labor installation company. I've never seen one.
Well, probably you can't pay, you have to have like the franchisee that really has skin in the game, the employee. It's probably tough to do something on like a national wide basis to really incentivize everyone.
Yeah. And we're really the only labor-only franchise model in the flooring industry. There's nobody else doing what we're doing. So that's how we're unique. So really at a granular level in a market, we're coming in and we're competing against the one-man show. And because of our volume and our size and our marketing discounts and all of the infrastructure and the call center and all these things we provide, we end up being almost the exact same cost to the consumer for that installation as the one-man show.
Wow.
So he's in saying, hey, it's $3,000, and Footprints is in there saying, hey, it's $3,200. But you get all of this other value add.
And you get it done fast, right? It's not going to
And
take 2 months plus to get the job done.
There's one-man shows that are awesome. They're fantastic craftsmen, and they're 6 months out.
Huh.
And when they're 6 months out, they start raising their price. So we're actually lower than those guys, and who we're competing against the not so good guys. And we're
How long does a typical installation take?
Less than a week.
Wow, that's incredible.
3-4 days.
And most of your customer acquisition, is it coming through, organic searches online, paid marketing, the referrals from the big box stores? How are you getting customers?
All of the above. We market in at least a dozen marketing sources and social media, you name it. And Footprints at the franchisor level builds all that out for the franchisees. We encourage them to get involved at the local level, but most of them don't, because they're overwhelmed by what's provided at the franchisor level.
And the landscape of that is, you take these one-man bands that are booked out 6 weeks. These guys, throughout my discovery process and calling competitive folks, they almost brag to the fact that they're a word-of-mouth business. They have been for 30 years. They don't spend a dime on marketing. So it leaves it open for us, right? They're not buying leads through the platforms we're buying, because they're booked 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 months sometimes.
They couldn't service them.
Yeah. And then furthermore, those that do, find they're short on work, and they might run a 2-week, 3-week marketing campaign, they don't have the capacity to answer the phone. So while they're buying the same leads as us at that particular time, we're winning because we're answering the phone immediately, or pardon me, it's being answered on our behalf by our customer service rep.
So you're bridging that online connection to offline fast.
Mm-hmm. The way I see it is, there are so many consumers that have a flooring related project, and they don't have a flooring guy. They've never done floors before. They are new to a city. And so they're reaching out to major platforms that have consumer confidence, and they're just looking to get a vetted contractor. And so we're on a regular basis buying the opportunity to meet a new customer and become their flooring guy by doing right by them.
Well, and when he says a regular basis, we average about 15 estimates a week per franchisee.
Wow.
Our call center, I think our record, we've put almost 5,000 estimates a month onto schedules for owners. So we're good at it. We do a lot of it, to the point where these marketing sources tell us our conversion rate from lead to estimate should be 25%. That's our goal.
That's
like,
pretty
hey,
high.
we sold you 4, you should turn 1 into an estimate. Our conversion rate is 60%,
Wow.
not 25. Yeah, because of what we have in place. We're good.
I imagine that of the 60% that convert, then you're also getting referrals from them. So it's like a virtuous circle.
That's right. And the volume that puts in front of a franchise owner really brings them to become a flooring pro in a short window. It's a steep learning curve, but a lot of intimidation of, I don't have any industry experience. I never knew I wanted to be a flooring guy. Inside of short period of time, you're gonna be the most knowledgeable resource in your market. And we've seen that as we've grown across the country.
So maybe Brian Knuth, could you tell me a little, you've talked a little bit about your background. Did you have any prior professional experience in flooring? Like and then Bryan Park, what are the most successful franchisees? What kind of acumen do they have? What are you looking for?
I'm getting called out here.
I have no comments.
I walk on floors. No, so I don't have any professional experience in flooring. I've kind of grown up in the service world. I had an opportunity to be a part of a tree removal business, and nights and weekends I was scrappy and I would do things. So I sat behind a sander one time for my father-in-law on a fix and flip, and realized that I know how to destroy floors faster than I know how to fix them. So that was it. So I really don't have any experience in flooring. I'm very handy. And so I can kind of wrap my head around, this looks right, this doesn't look right. But again, this is a sales business, and this is a project management business. It's people management, it's communication and problem solving. So while I am handy, I don't have any experience in flooring. it's a very doable model for someone that's committed to, selling, being organized, getting in front of more customers, pressing harder on the marketing gas pedal, and then communicating with the customers that you've, committed to, and don't overcommit, set fair expectations. So those are the things that I have kind of in my back pocket, is being able to project manage, task management,
Okay.
organization.
You
Nothing
transferred all
like
the skills that you generated over many years in the service industry. This just happens to be a little different service.
Yeah. It's the people business, though. We're dealing with people, we're dealing with emotions, we're helping them see their vision to fruition, and also bringing them down to earth and saying, it's a 5-day project. It's not a 2-day project. So, let's not have that cocktail party on Saturday if we're going to start on Friday.
Well, and Brian's really, I mean, he's got a service background, but you're probably towards the end of the spectrum where, I mean, we have guys that have way less experience. If our owner's like, this is the floor guy that knows everything, and this is the other end of the spectrum, Brian's kind of like right here. Most of our owners know even less. They're coming from all kinds of different backgrounds. And really my philosophy has always been, I can teach adults, I can teach competent people about flooring. It's not that hard. You can learn everything there is to know about flooring, or at least enough within a few months.
Enough to be dangerous.
Well, enough to know more than 99% of your market, that's for sure. But I can't teach floor guys how to be adults necessarily. So we'll do it. Yeah. And it's worked out amazingly well. We put them through a very intense training up front on flooring and overwhelm them. And then we sit and mentor and coach for the next decade and make sure that they're up to speed. And it's worked out extremely well.
And are most of the franchisees, the 150 or so franchises that are currently operating, are they mostly working full time? Or do you have some that are working like 15, 20 hours a week?
No, it's everybody's full time. It's a full-time gig. Yep. Well, except for Brian, he doesn't even live in his market, but somebody needs to be full time. So he has a general manager that lives in Indianapolis that runs the day to day. And then Brian talks to him every day.
But it's one of those opportunities that I want to warn people that there will be more work than you can keep up with for the first several years. And so you're going to need to be sleeves rolled up. You're going to need to plan to hire people as you become ready. But there's more work than you can keep up with. And, we're buying leads, we're buying to get in front of a customer when they're ready. So while it's pretty scheduled and you can work in, a nice work-life balance, you got to be available. When a customer wants to meet you at 4:00, you got to go there.
And are you working Saturday, Sunday? Is it more of a Monday through Friday type of work?
Yeah, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
I think the general feeling for people when they invest is I got to be available, 24/7. And within about a month, they recognize like, okay, I can kind of narrow this down to Monday through Friday. Sometimes a job trickles into Saturday. And, I think franchise owners love, they take their kids, they show them entrepreneurship, they meet with the customer and grab a check. But yeah, it's a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 business.
And then what's the general investment range? Like how much does it cost, including working capital, to open up a franchise?
We're seeing for a single territory, I think a good healthy budget's about $100,000. I say that with incidentals, marketing budget, you're going to spend 75 of that, and that 25 gives you some cushiony budgets to make good decisions. Okay. Now that's the investment bucket. So still have some money set aside for your lifestyle bucket. I don't know
how much do you think? 6 months, 9 months of just money that you have?
Yeah, no promises. None of us have a crystal ball. I wish I did. I wouldn't be sitting here, right? I'd be on a beach somewhere owning, I don't know, an island. But no, as far as operating capital, I would say, and cushiony budgets, we're seeing successes within the first month. Customers are buying from us just because we show up. Then you become good at it. You become effective at it, usually in your second to third month, where you're able to control the outcome. You're able to control the dollar amount that the customer agrees to. And we're seeing revenues to where franchise owners are taking profits in their first couple months. Again, I don't know how much lifestyle you need to subsidize, but 6 months would be a good cushiony budget.
And compared to like a food and beverage franchise or any franchise that has like a big physical location where to find the site, permits, build out, getting the furnitures and fixtures, and it can be like 6 to 18 months until you break even, and even a year until you actually open the business. How long is it
Well,
taking for Footprints Floors for a franchisee to open from the time they signed the franchise agreement with you guys?
From signature, depending on when our next training is, which we run them almost monthly, they're launching the day after they finish training.
Oh, wow.
So they fly home and they're doing it. We actually turn on their marketing and post ads for crews while they're in training. And when
That's
they
great.
show back up in their market on Monday, they're doing estimates, and so we like to see them do revenue their first month, like the first 2 weeks when they get back after training. And then we want to see them turn a profit really within the next 60 days, and they do. And then according to our FDD, which is what I have to quote, we're seeing on average, they're recouping their initial investment within their first 7 months of business. So not
Wow.
getting in the black in a month, recouping their original investment within, and that's not everybody obviously, but on average, it's about 7 months. We have owners recoup their initial investment in 3 or 4 months. I mean,
That's
it happens
wild.
quick.
Yeah, that's what I love about the service industry. And it looks like, especially flooring, one of our analysts just did a study on Orange Theory franchise. The midpoint's 1.3 million, and they're making like 150K. It's going to take you about 10 years to get your money back.
Oh,
So, I mean, it's something if you really are passionate about fitness or food and you don't care as much about the money, but if you got to support 3 puppies and 2 kids, you might want to consider more of a service-based franchise that you can get your
Flooring's
money
not
back.
sexy. It's not sexy, but it pays very well. And it actually ends up becoming really sexy when you get good at it. Like, this is really cool. There's something about taking some old green shag carpet and turning it into beautiful hardwood floors.
For sure. And
It's
I'm sure you
amazing.
see the
I love
customers
it.
super happy after
Oh.
they give nice reviews.
Yeah, to compare a stat against a stat, our item 19 showing an average volume in the 800s, and we show a net between 25 and 27%. So
Solid.
that's a single territory, right? That's one owner going out Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So you can run the math on that, grow that to 3, 4 territories.
No employees at that single territory mark, just an owner and some crews.
And what regions are you targeting? I know you're in over 30 states. Like, where would you guys like to grow next?
So we're in 36 states, 155 locations. We're all over. I would say our main focus is the Northeast currently. We have a very strong presence through the South, Southwest, Midwest. But yeah, actually, this is our board of ownership.
Oh,
so
cool.
all of these pins represent different owners. That's not computer generated. That's actual paint on wood. It looks
for those that are listening on the podcast, the Bryans at their headquarters, and there's a map of the United States and pins all over the place. So it looks like a lot of territory is still open. And I heard in another interview you gave, you want to have over 400 locations up and running.
Yeah, we've mapped the country already. There's 403 territories available. We have 155 taken. So we got some room for sure, but we are growing like crazy. We've added 40 owners and 80 locations just year to date, just in 2021. So in the middle of a pandemic. So it's going well. It's been growing very quickly.
So I understand, COVID's changed a lot of things, and probably with Brian Knuth, like, you operating a business essentially remote from Colorado probably wasn't that easy to do if people weren't used to this new reality that we're in with COVID. So I imagine there's probably been some shifts and more flexibility from how you run a business. And we've seen that at Vetted Biz. But have you seen any big shifts on the consumer side, and kind of how has the business model had to adapt?
Yeah, so my experience, and I'm relatively young as a franchise owner. We signed our agreement at the very beginning of 2020. So I tell people, we came out of training. I launched marketing February 3rd of 2020. We fell on our face March 10th.
Yeah.
Right. We fell on our face for like 2 weeks.
Okay.
It was this uncertainty, this unknown. It was really, customers are wondering, are they allowed to invite you in their property? And not only our business,
All that essential conversation
Right.
happening back then. And
Right.
Who's essential, who's not.
and
We're essential.
right, we are essential. Although it's arguably cosmetic, it's essential.
Construction. Yeah.
But so yeah, we started getting invited in properties, and we saw this around the country with franchise owners. We really didn't have but maybe a 2-week blip, and that blip was just unknown. I would say that I've only been in the flooring business for a couple years now, but we started seeing a massive consumption of floors. And if I look at myself, I had 2 little 7-year-olds running around the house that did, arguably 3 or 4 years worth of damage to my floors in 6 months, because they're usually at school, right? So we're wearing and tearing our property. We're seeing consumers that are, finding that they can't go have a cocktail at happy hour, and so they're turning their house into their sanctuary. And so I guess oddly enough, there was a lot of consumption that took place in home improvement. People had money, they kept jobs. The market's pretty healthy right now. So it's been, I say, an awesome interruption. It's an unfortunate situation that's gone on around the globe, but it's been prime for us in the flooring business.
Well, and to expand on that, because we're not in the material side of the industry, even now with logistics issues happening and trying to get shipments and containers coming through ports, we don't have any of that because we're not in the material business. So we're telling customers, find what you can find, whatever happens.
Exactly. Maybe their products are limited, but they're still going to do something, right?
Yeah. Yep. And they're saying, well, I want to get this done this month, so I'll buy this particular product. And we're like, we're ready. Just let us know and we'll be out there to put it in for you. So we're not waiting 6 months for material to get here. We're installing constantly.
Even portions of projects. I mean, he's running a lot more volume than me, but in my business, we've had some jobs where we're waiting on just a small little part. So the customer says, carry out 90% of the work. We'll give you a check, and we know you'll come back and finish this. So revenue continues. And as those parts come in, we're not in the firing line where the customer's upset with us about, what we're failing to deliver. They're upset with.
You're getting it done in a week, but if the product's not there yet for that week to start, there's not much you can do.
If the customer's upset, they're upset with the box store, not with us.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to conclude our discussion today, how do you see the future changing and the needs for the industry in this century, in the coming years?
Floors are in demand. They're not going anywhere. People keep buying houses and building houses. Populations increase. The flooring industry will not disappear anytime soon. We're also not going to get automated anytime soon. And the beauty of the model is we're not attached to a particular product. So right now we do a ton of hardwood floors, laminate, LVP. We do a lot of tile. We're a tile installation company as well. But say it transitions to something else over the coming decades, we'll learn how to install that. There's always a demand for labor. That's what we're in the business. We're in the labor business. So we'll adapt, we'll shift, we'll change. Our margins are the same no matter what we're installing. And we'll just figure out what the next product is and keep rolling. So as long as people keep buying floors, we're not going anywhere.
Firsthand experience on my end. And I don't know that I'd ever imagine this, but I recently had Brian's company do my backsplash. We never left our house. My wife had a good idea of the product she wanted from a friend of hers. She ordered the product online after we got our estimate. It was delivered and drop shipped to our door. So I think with today's day and age of Amazon and Wayfair and these direct to door delivery companies, we never left our house.
Who need installers, by the way?
The one
consumer,
thing
I guess, is probably more informed. I mean,
I don't know about that. My wife had a particular color she wanted, so that's our consumer. Honestly, is it's an elective surgery. They're changing something because they want the appearance to look a certain way. But nonetheless, my point being, we never left the property. But the one thing we could not replace was the management of labor. I don't have a crew here in Denver, even though I run a business, and I could probably go recruit a crew. It's not a nice thing to do when I'm involved with this company, but I can't replace that as a consumer. I can't go find a crew. I don't want to manage them. My time is more valuable working. And so, we couldn't eliminate that. So Footprints is still in the picture, regardless of my consumption of floors.
And
well said, Brian.
I still run Denver. So we run about 40 crews a week here in Denver. So And I think that's an advantage as a franchisor. I run a flooring company to this day. I have 13 employees and 40 crews, and we do millions of dollars in revenue in Denver alone. So really, whatever I'm telling a franchisee to do, I'm doing the same thing. Whatever we're implementing at the franchisor level, it's affecting my day-to-day business as well, my employees, my crews. I'm not just talking the talk. I've been walking the walk for 15 years.
And how many corporate locations? You just have that one corporate location, Brian?
We have 5 locations now in Denver.
Okay.
So I run 5 locations.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you see what the franchisees are going through, but you're making more money from the franchisees in terms of royalties. So you're not going to be just focused on your businesses, I imagine.
No, I make money on both sides, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go hand in hand. So I'm going to make decisions that help franchisees, and it'll help my business as well. But my focus is the franchisee for sure, and my local business is the beneficiary of it.
That's huge.
And
Yeah,
from
because
a-
there's some big brands like Panda Express that only 7% of the locations are franchise, or Texas Roadhouse. It's like less than 20% are franchise. And you have to
No.
question, where is the franchisor spending their time and effort?
No.
And that's the world I live in on a regular basis, as we, help vet franchisees for various organizations and help them understand what they're getting involved in and the infrastructure supporting them. I'm shy to say this because he's sitting next to me and his head won't fit through the door, but I'm yet to see companies that provide as much focus and understanding of the business and hands-on attention to the franchise owners. I mean, everyone gets Brian's cell phone number. He's on the chat regularly. He's entrenched in the business. So I get people asking, what happens when Brian leaves? And I'm like, well, you got to understand, he loves what he's doing. He's making a tremendous impact, not only on the lives of our franchise owners, but also the industry of flooring. It's changing. We're getting so many folks in the industry that are helping our business grow because they want to add this professional touch to what's kind of a fragmented, unprofessional, bad rap, and not just flooring, but service business gets that rap across the board. And so, Brian's dedication to all of us on a regular basis and his hands-on experience and know-how is really second to none with some franchise organizations where they're, smart business owners, but they don't know their product or they don't know their operations. He knows it soup to nuts.
So apparently I know the operations, but I'm not a smart business owner. Well,
You surround yourself with people that do the things you're not as strong with.
sure.
Yeah, no, he's the mastermind behind that as well.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, I enjoy what I do. I have a great job. But no, I would say, to sum me up, I'm a business mind that just happened to fall into flooring at a young age and kind of grew up in the flooring industry and applied a business mind to it. And that's why we're sitting here.
Great. Well, Brian Knuth, Bryan Park, it was really a pleasure to have both of you on today. In the description section, if you're listening on one of the podcast networks or on YouTube, we're going to leave the contact information. So should you be interested in entering the flooring space and particularly looking at opportunity with Footprints Floors, you'll be able to schedule a call and to see if this might be the right opportunity for you. Thanks, guys.